Welcome back. It's time to turn on dark mode. We're here to talk about working in IT, video games, tech, and everything outside the 9 to 5. I'm one of your hosts, Keegan Lassard.
And you rattled that off quick.
Oh,
And I'm Taylor Floyd Views. How's it
Dude,
going?
I hate doing the intro. I get so nervous.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of fun to watch you like screw it up every week, and then like I have to like find ways to edit around it and stuff.
Oh boy, but I'm doing good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm still kind of like relaxing and trying to calm down from our little run through of Halo.
Yeah, I
On
have to put
Legendary
on my
difficulty.
tropical shirt just to like get into a good mode today. It's my happy shirt.
That's how your way to decompress, just like counterbalance of that. Meanwhile, I'm over here just wearing gray. Although there is Pac-Man on it. I don't know if
Okay,
there you can
okay,
see. So,
okay. Cool. But
but
yeah, no, our Halo run. I didn't know we are gonna do legendary difficulty, but
I
it's
did warn you. To be fair, I did say like, "Yo, let's play the Halo." I'm trying to do it on legendary on co-op at least. Like, or once you came at me, like, because I told Keegan like, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting, or I already owned it actually. So like, I was like, I'm gonna play through the Halos all the way through. I'm just having an itch. Why not?" And then like me saying this, not really remembering that Halo has co-op campaigns like even that early on in the 2001 version of the game. So I was sitting there like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna let him know. And then he's just like, well, like, I mean, I have to play that with you. Like, I'm not just gonna let you sit there. So next thing I know, Keegan's buying the game, throwing caution to the wind. And I was
Well,
like,
I
yo,
didn't know
let's
you were
play it
gonna
on
play the
legendary.
campaign. I didn't know you were gonna planning on playing the campaign at all. Like I thought you just were just gonna play the multiplayer. And so once
I
you said,
well, I already owned it. I told you that I had played the multiplayer a little bit. So like me telling you that on Slack was when I was like, I want to play through all of the Halo games. Like, and
yeah,
then that's when you were like, oh boy, let me get in on that. So I don't know. But then that's when I was like, Legendary is probably going to be the way to go. And then you kind of just like brushed that aside, like, yeah, okay. And then like we started playing it, and the first two missions weren't too bad. Like it was like harder than I expected, but then we got to like no, no,
we've
no,
only
no,
gotten
no.
to the first two missions.
We're on the third mission. See, Keegan seems to have this like conception of the game where like the intro isn't a mission, but like it counted as 1 out of 10 missions in the game. So like I was like, Keegan, we have beaten 2 missions. So we did the intro, we landed, the crash landed, and then we did that first part, and then we got extracted. And then now we're on the third part. We got sucked up into the alien ship, and we were getting dicked on by those elites with the swords. All right, so like that's where we had to rage quit.
Yeah.
But I did not expect this game to be that hard, considering it was like from 2001, and like I don't know. I guess I just had a bad preconception of it. But then I talked to my friend who's played Halo a lot, and then he was like, dude, Combat Evolved Legendary is like the worst thing ever. He's like, I couldn't do it. And I'm like, oh, well,
oh,
I don't know if that means we're going to finish it or we might have to bump it down to
we're
heroic.
finishing it.
No. Meaning like we would have to bump it down to heroic. I'm like to the point where I'm trying to brute force it. Like it's happening tooth and
No,
nail.
we're doing a legendary run of Halo.
Okay. So like no, we can't pussy out then.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Sounds
But you can
good.
check our YouTube and check out the beginning of this Halo series.
Yeah, we probably already released it by now. We're actually recording before I would have released it, but I'm assuming the fact that I'm gonna get it out the door before this podcast release. So check
And if it
YouTube.
isn't, you can blame Taylor.
Yeah, I'll take all the blame. But check YouTube, check IGTV. We're gonna be posting them there, and we're gonna be posting them in the episodes that they or like the missions that they get played in. So like I've completed the intro video, and we're gonna post that, and then the next we're gonna post mission 1 and then mission 2 until we finish. So,
And by no means is this like hours upon hours of a video. It's gonna be condensed.
yeah,
We're
we
not.
edited it down to like 20. Well, the first one is like 18 minutes or 19 minutes or so. And I just basically took the highlights because like I don't want people to be like, oh, this is a long play of a game I've already played before. Like we're just taking all the funny moments and just like condensing them. And I did some funny things with the edit and made fun of Keegan several times.
Well,
So
yeah. I mean, what's
he hasn't seen it yet from this recording point. Like us recording this podcast, but he will have seen it before it releases. So Keegan might have a completely different opinion by the time y'all hear this.
Yeah, we may not be doing it after it gets released.
If no video is up, you might actually want to blame Keegan because he's the one that was like, "Don't ship it." Like, no, no, no.
Delayed.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, I'm actually enjoying it, and I think the funniest moment, which actually won't be featured in the intro video because I didn't discover it yet, but the point at which I discover that there's a button to change between the old graphics and the new
Yeah.
graphics, because I could not stop pressing it. I was literally like, yo, like look how different things look. I'm just pressing tab constantly, just like flickering. Oh man.
Yeah, I did that a lot as well. It's cool that they just implemented that to just a button click. Like you
I
don't
mean,
have to
like
restart the game.
the development of that must have been crazy because they're making the game to be playable or rendered in two different ways at any given moment, and it's like instant usually.
Yeah,
So
there's like no loading. It's just
there's
you
a couple
expand
of
the shit out of
times though where like if you go too far like away from where you last pressed it, it'll do like this warp effect to kind of
it.
like hide the transition, but it's not like its screen goes black, you have to wait and then do it. It's literally just like change the assets, and then my frames per second on the 2001 version skyrocket. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it's nice. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I kind of forgot the storyline, to be honest. I played it forever ago. I mean, I played
Yeah,
it on the Xbox original. That's the last time I played the story. So
and I've heard good things about it. So I mean, I was like, I finally have to just like get it under my belt. I feel like it needs to happen because I'll be talking mad shit about all the Xbox, like just people and
exclusives.
games. No, not so much the exclusives, but just like just Xbox in general, just easy to hate on. And then like I'll be like, okay, maybe I should try it out because I've tried Gears and I just can't do it. I don't like it. This we're not getting into that.
Yeah,
But
no, we don't need to.
Halo is like actually a legit fun game, but I
Yeah.
never had the original Xbox. I got the 360 really late and I played Halo 4 only. I've played Halo 3 at friends' houses, but not the campaign, just like fun multiplayer and like Forge, tomfoolery. But
Tomfoolery.
dude, because that's all the Forge is. It's just like you get in there and you just mess around, dude. Like
Yeah.
that's the fun of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's hilarious though that you just like you were planning to do all this with other games and things, and then all of a sudden you're just like, you know what? I'm buying this $40 package of a game that I've already bought on Xbox, of games that I've already bought in the past on other consoles. And I was like, my man.
It's pretty ugly, but hey, I mean, do it for the pod, right?
For sure. So I actually have a little bit of an announcement. I have a friend at work, co-worker friend, that he actually just made a game. It's not like a Halo game, like full AAA thing. He just made this cool little game called Top 4, and
.io.
yeah, it plays in your browser. So if you go to top4.io, we'll show it here on screen. It's a little game that I kind of equate to Jackbox. So there's like different games in Jackbox. I don't know what all of them are called, but usually somebody has to buy the game. It's like $60 or like, no, not 60. That's like for the bundles. It's like
Yeah.
$20, $25, and then you get like 6 games, and then you can have people come in and be the audience, but this is just straight up free. So essentially what you do in this game is you pick categories. So let me zoom in here. You can play as a team eventually coming soon. I guess it's still under development, but this is version 1. And then you can choose to write your own categories or have like random ones and other ones that he's set. And then once you like pick some, essentially just type your name in. And then, oh wait, whoa, did we just find a bug live?
Yeah, dude, I found that bug, dude. Did you hit enter?
Yeah, enter.
Yeah.
You didn't you
Fix your
didn't
shit.
I guess I should have QA'd this for him. Like next time, hit me up, Andrew. I'll QA your game. All right, start. So
Yeah,
like,
you have to actually click start. You know what? Hey, he's just checking to make sure you're not a robot.
oh, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Without implementing CAPTCHA, he's just like, you know what? If you hit enter, I ain't trusting it.
So we got over here, like you get a game code, everybody will come in, and then once you start, you basically just start ranking things. So like he's got this Dave Matthews Band, Tinder, memes, and Game of Thrones. And then basically you're supposed to guess what the other people are going to rank it. So like
That's
Keegan,
cool.
I'm going to be like, I think you think memes are top, Tinder's a close second. Well, actually, yeah, Game of Thrones
Why
is
am I
third.
using why am I
No.
using Tinder?
This is an example, right? So then
Okay.
Game of Thrones is third because that horrible ending, and then Dave Matthews Band's because like who is that? And then like if I got it right, you like release which ones you get right, and then like you get points per order you got correct. And
Gotcha.
then it's like a quick it's definitely a version of some Jackbox game, kind of, but like I don't remember the name of it. But I think it's great because it's just simple and you can use it anywhere.
It takes some of the gameplay, like a lot of Jackboxes, like submitted answers and then like either guessing or surveying the
Mhm.
percentages, and whoever guessed right gets points.
Yeah.
I don't think this is like
I mean,
exactly
Jackbox
out there.
recycles their own content, dude.
Yeah,
Like
so
every new version is another version of the same game.
I just find it funny when like you ask two QA people to promote your game, we find a bug for you live. So
I
but
hope
go check it out.
I hope that's like that doesn't like cause problems for him. I don't think it will. I think he think it's funny,
No,
but
you found a workaround. It's a low priority.
yeah. Oh, I just like it sucks that I had to put him on blast for it.
Hey, it wasn't in the requirements, so therefore it is actually an enhancement to implement. All right.
Yeah. Cool though. So check out top4.io, and if you're in the market for other free games, check out our giveaway. We'll make this quick. Just go to darkmodepodcast.com and hit the bottom of the webpage for a little. I don't even know. I called it a modal last time, but technically it's not a modal. It's just a
Widget.
little embedded widget. Yeah,
Yeah,
widget.
widget.
Uh, just like the podcast, our YouTube videos, and follow and all that kind of stuff. You get an entry, and you can win either a copy of Frostpunk. There's another copy of Frostpunk, Hitman 2, and also Grease.
Gris. I always want to say Gris, but
It's
yeah,
one of those
we want to give you free games, so go enter the giveaway.
free games. So, did you see any of the news about the Outrider game coming out?
No, I mean, I remember you bringing it up, and like it kind of just went over my head at work today. Like when we're talking about what we're talking about, you said Outrider or something, and I'm like, well, I don't know. I'll look it up later, and I never did. So this is completely new to me.
So this game is like a little bit interesting to me because it got me thinking about the state of like the industry of people when they
The
see
industry of
new.
people.
Yeah, I'm not speaking correctly. The state of viewers viewing the new games that are coming out in the video game industry. They have
Okay.
just like no trust and no like they have very low expectations. So
Yeah,
I was watching this gameplay. I'm gonna pull it up on screen here too.
already got opinions, but all right, keep going.
You already have opinions.
Yeah, about like the toxicity of like a fan base and how it can. Anyways, we'll get to it. You show me what Outrider is, and I'll go on a full spiel.
All right, so I don't know. Like I'm pulling up their stream, and the funniest part is their stream was like lagging on the game. So like people were just like, "Dude, the
Gross.
game's garbage because the stream's garbage," and like I don't know. People are
It's like
ridiculous.
a mistake.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like this game is borrowing a lot of content and ideas from stuff like Destiny, The Division, Gears. Like it looks very similar. So like the first things I'm seeing are people like mashing up different games of what it looks like. So somebody was like Destiny 3, Gears of Division 2, Borderlands. And I was dying because like yeah, it borrows from like all of those different aspects, but like the funniest part is that it doesn't look that bad, but people were just ribbing on it. Like I thought it looked pretty much like if I equated it to something, it looks like the Division 2, but it has an ability aspect. So like usually it was like an ability shooter that is what I gravitate towards, and the Division didn't have that so much. They just had like things you could toss on the ground. But this is like, oh, like I actually get um I don't know, like ground slams and just like
Okay.
fireballs and other like energy swords and cool stuff. And um people like they couldn't get behind it. They were just like, oh, like this looks so cheap and rip off, like it should be a free to play. And it's just like, yo, relax, like let them explain their game. I for one think it might be worth the tryout. Like I'm gonna see what the reviews are like when it comes out, or like a couple weeks before it comes out, because that's usually when the review embargoes get lifted on games. But
Yeah.
um the coolest thing about this though is that people seem to have the biggest trust issues with games as a service. So stuff like Destiny and The Division, where like they release you a game that doesn't really feel complete, and then they just like keep updating it with other like, oh, here's more story, here's more, pay us more money. And like Anthem tried to do a thing where they were like, the game is complete and then we're going to keep adding on it, but that game was a dumpster fire. But this game is straight up saying, we are not a game as a service. We are releasing a full story game. It is always online like a Destiny would be, but like here is the game. You can play co-op, you could play solo, and then we will release new content for it, but like it will always be coming back to that same like story arc. So like it's not
Okay.
like with Destiny where like they're in a bad spot right now where they're just trying to fill the gap before they release new stuff. So like it's kind of in that middle ground of like we're taking, aspects of games as a service where like you have the looter shooter elements where you're always grinding for a new high level, and like there's ways to get that end game for hardcore stuff. And then you can still come back to the story at the center. But like then they're taking elements from Diablo where it's like world tiers. So like they had like torment levels in Diablo from like 1 to, I don't remember the end, but like it progressively made it harder
Yeah.
and you get more loot. They're doing that here. Um they show
Replayability
Yeah, they showed off some gameplay of one of their what's it called, their
classes.
classes, and it was very reminiscent of kind of like a hunter from Destiny, except for like this one messed with like time elements, so you could like slow things down with like orbs, and then also had like a sword that slashed through and exploded things. And it's like, hey, if they support this game, and it's got that looter shooter element to it, I'm gonna give it a shot. But like if I get those reviews and it's like, dude, this is the next Anthem, then it's gonna be like jump ship, like abort.
You know, at first I kind of felt bad for this game just by your description of like how toxic people were towards it.
Hmm.
But then I realized this whole genre, in my opinion, I would, if I was a game developer or a game developing company, I wouldn't go near it with a 10-foot pole. The whole audience for like Destiny 2 and looter shooters like that in the Division and that kind of area, I would steer way fucking clear of that them. And I don't mean any disrespect, but in my opinion, they have such a high expectations for games when they thrive on games that they don't personally like the business model for the game that they love, but yet they still play it.
Yeah,
They don't like, these chunks of DLC where it's like roll the dice on whether or not the DLC is good or not, and then you get pissed off at the base game. That doesn't make sense. Then why do you like the base game? It's like I respect them for saying, hey, we're going to be a full game, and if you're not on board with the full game that we're going to release, don't jump on. It's not in my from what you're describing. I don't know too much about the game yet, but from what you're describing, I think that they're tackling head on that industry, and I think they're doing what Anthem should have done. And that I think they're looking at what Anthem did, and maybe they did a little quick pivot, like, oh shit, maybe we need to recalculate here. But it is frustrating when like, and I can't imagine what the game developers are going through right now, where they have a lot of hype for they're about to release their gameplay. Everyone is only playing video games right now, and everyone is looking for video game news. And to finally get up there and go show your baby that's probably been your baby for like the past year,
hmm,
and then everyone's just like, nah, no, no, don't
yeah,
want it, don't need it. Why? And it's like, I think it's just a matter of our industry's audience is just naturally that way, especially like comic book nerds like myself. I've had to get used to that because everyone online hates on everything until it gets released, and then there's like a 50-50 chance whether or not they like it or didn't. Everything prior doesn't matter because they shit on everything no matter what. People hated Heath Ledger as the Joker when he got casted. Look how that turned out. Everyone fucking loves it and it's critically acclaimed and everyone, but up until that movie came out, or at least till the trailer dropped, everyone shit on Heath Ledger's casting. They shit on Christian Bale's casting. Anybody's casting. They will shit on it. So like I'm used now it's just like I'm used to as soon as a gameplay or a new game comes out or new news comes out, I'm just immediately used to just ignoring the comments now. And I think we're just getting to that stage where I'm like, who is still commenting or who is still like posting on these their opinions and like outside of Reddit, like on YouTube comments or like Twitch streams,
Well, the
because it's
stuff
like
I'm talking about isn't like comments on that. This is like live streams where like it's just so easy for someone to just throw garbage into a
yeah,
chat box and then just like forget about it. Here's my point that I want to make off of that. Like I think that that's not how it always was. I think that that stems from stuff because there have been plenty of games that have been overhyped and then came out and were garbage. And this is even before games like Anthem and Fallout 76 existed because in the last 2 years we had two very dumpster fire games get released that were like so hyped. Like people were just like, "Oh, it just looks dope. It's gonna be great," and it's got like a big company behind it. Not so much like the hype for the big company behind it for the EA game Anthem, but like people had faith in Bethesda, and then they kind of lost it with Fallout 76. So
yeah,
for people to come on here and see a game that looks like they played it safe ish, they're just kind of like, wow, like last gen graphics, like look at those animations, like wow, they're like so critical, you know, like everybody's a critic, but like they are kind of scared that like some people that would be hyped for this game normally, like that they would buy it and it wouldn't be that great, right? So they just like bash on it. Like, hey, I don't want to like this game because like I have trust issues that it's going to suck. Cause like I was one of those people that was like, dude, Anthem looks dope. And then I didn't buy it right away. And I'm very thankful I didn't because it was trash. But if I would have bought it, I kind of would have been like skeptical about new games such as this coming out. But like,
yeah.
I'm in this boat now where like I kind of want to give all new games a chance, but I do also have to prioritize what I purchase. So like right now, I'm willing to give this game a chance, but like it says holiday 2020. That's a busy time, right? That's when the new consoles are coming out, and like we're still gonna be playing games that have come out all fall. So it's
Yeah.
like I'm most likely gonna push it to the side and see if it gets well received. But like I just will never understand these people that come on here and are just like hypercritical before they've even seen anything.
You know
Like,
what I think? I think it's stemmed towards the fact that the video game industry now, it isn't that you just can just release a game. It's that you have to release a game and then support it for like years.
yeah,
Like the standard now is like, okay, so when's the DLC gonna come out? Have you announced that yet? Like, I think once we got away from that, and I think it's also stemmed to that all the game companies went a little too businessy and not enough arts like creative and original. They went and they tried doing microtransactions, so they pissed off an entire generation of gamers.
yeah.
And then they're trying to win back their trust by giving them games that last longer, and they make you save money because you invest so much hours into one game. But what they didn't realize is now it's an investment for us to buy your game, an investment of our time and our loyalty towards a game. So now it's like a whole different decision making. It's not just, oh, I'll give this a try and see what the campaign's like. It's like, do I want to spend the next 2 months getting really good at this game and then finally enjoying it because I'm good at it? And now I can invest more time into it. Is it replayable? What do I get for beating it on a different difficulty? All these different things are now being a factor, whereas before it was like you get an achievement, and then now it's like, well, what I need, like, where's my loot? So I think it's a double edged sword where they shot. I think a lot of the video game industry shot themselves in the foot when they relied heavily on microtransactions,
And
which I
that's a
get.
selling point in games now. Like, do you have microtransactions? No, everybody gets hyped. It's like it's funny because that wasn't a question like 5, 10 years ago.
I know, and I think by doing that, they spawned a whole generation of games where in-game loot became even more popular. I know Counter Strike had in-game loot way before all this happened, but they started making gameplay mechanics that relied on what loot you had. It, having certain armor boosted certain aspects. So And then they came as standard, and then microtransactions went away, but loot was still there. So now we have to deal with DLCs, new gameplay, replayability more often. So the amount of original games that come out isn't really the same anymore. I mean, they're still there, obviously, but we're still thinking about Destiny 2, which came out years ago because DLCs are coming out. Or Borderlands 3 is still going to be around because DLCs are going to come out and new game loot, new weapons, new blah blah blah. So when a new game comes in that is heavily the same, but by a new developer and they want to get their name out there, and they're like, this is the genre we like, this is what we think we can support, everyone that would be their target audiences, chances are they're already playing at least one or two. And they're like, do I want to play a third? And to me, that's a mistake on their business model. They should have looked at the audience, like, as a company, do I want to spend time developing a game that's already, in my opinion, literally like flooded with games? Like their competition's too great, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And it might be a good game. It might, but you're gonna have to sell it at a high, I mean, probably $60 price,
they
and
will be.
you're gonna compete against Borderlands 3, Destiny 2, the Division 2, which is kind of on the lower end. I don't think a lot of people play it, but I'm sure still has a lot of people. Anthem is planning on getting completely, they're remastering, I heard, or they're gonna try to
They're gonna try to salvage
resurrect it.
it.
So that will, I mean, even though it's a dumpster fire, that's still gonna be in the space. So it's like I feel bad for them, obviously, about the reception they got for their gameplay. I don't think it deserves that kind of immediate backlash. But in my head, I'm like, but you're also entering one of, it's like coming out with a battle royale game nowadays. It's like, okay, dude. I mean, you had it coming. You developed a game that's, I mean, you went the safe route, which is fine, and that's what they kind of came out saying. But that's just the world we live in now.
Yeah, and the thing about like with every game releasing as like, you know, a long-term span, like that's annoying for the games that are single player. Like I Borderlands 3, you know, it's got like 4 story DLCs coming out, and right now they've only released 2. A third one comes out like in June.
Yeah,
And I've played the first 2, and or actually no, I've only played the first one. The second one I have, but I haven't jumped into it yet. But like that fourth one is going to come out in the fall sometime, and it's like, I mean, when I bought Borderlands, you know, I just was like, all right, like I'm going to invest my 40, 50 hours into it. I'm not looking like a year down the line like I'm going to be still playing Borderlands kind of thing. But in
right.
these games that are like Destiny and the Division, like it's hard to balance multiple, especially when you're not like a full-time streamer. So like
Yeah,
I'm gonna choose one, right? Like to play. And for the most part, it was always Destiny for me. And then I took a break because you know, I didn't have time or it got like stale. So for all of these games to have such a saturated market to come into, and they're trying to set themselves apart, like, oh, pick me, let me be your like your time sink, because that game type is appealing to some people only want to focus on one game and do that and have things to be rewarding and grind for, and that was me for a while. But for like a game like this to come out, for most people, them playing it safe, they really have no reason to like switch over. But it's annoying that the toxicity of it, like that people and some people in the chat are just like, why are you guys like ribbing on it so hard? Like, why are you being so toxic? Like, just like let them talk, like let them just say it, and you can literally choose not to buy it. But the funniest part for me are the people that come in there and are like, yawn, I'm waiting to care. It's like, hit the X, like get out of the stream. Like you do not have to watch this. Like I don't know why you're here. Like you're bored. Like it's just so stupid. But I don't know. Like I am running into problems with the whole balancing the single player games itching towards that I can't even edging towards the whole game as a service like style where it's like, all right, you're gonna have this single player game that's gonna last you like 8 months, and it's like, dude, like I kind of just want to play it for 40 hours maybe and then stop. And like that's why I'm also kind of so excited for The Last of Us Part 2 to come out, because like they just fully like invested in just like one story, one overarching story. I don't know how long it's going to be. Like let's just say the game's 20 hours long
yeah,
for one playthrough. That's solid. But one cool thing they're doing is like, hey, we're gonna make the level so big that there's gonna be like full scripted dialogue sequences, fights, and like lore and other stuff you're just gonna completely miss because you chose a different route. And it's not like the whole like, oh, branching like binary search tree story. It's literally just like, hey, if you went this way on the map, like you're gonna fight these people and see this storyline and maybe like do that. But if you went this way, you'll see some other stuff. And that gives the incentive to replay the game. And then you just like focus more on like why they made the game rather than just like, all right, let's get more content coming in that they have to think about like after making the first one, you know? So it's not like fully meshed because it's hard to execute that. Like for them to like make DLC that fits into the story without it feeling like the game's unfinished. Because people will forever say that. As long as they're DLC, oh, the first game was or the base game's unfinished. And that's like it's so hard to get past that.
Yeah. And you know, what I think is the reason I think it got so much immediate backlash and why I think it's kind of justified in a way, at least in nowadays, it's what they did outside of a video game perspective. It's like as if somebody came out with a new soda product and it's a cola flavored soda and they said, "You know what? We have this new soda. We're a brand new company. Trust us. Forget Pepsi and Coke. It tastes just like it." And then they left it at that. And then, they just took clips of somebody drinking the soda and saying it's so refreshing. People would hate on it immediately. The reason being, there's so many sodas out there. People are already Pepsi or Coke. That it's such a saturated market that you don't really see anybody coming into their space because Pepsi and Coke own like all the sub brands. So, in my opinion, they came into this video game and they're like, "Here's a brand new game, but we're competing with this huge market." And I haven't watched it yet, but I'm guessing by their immediate backlash, they didn't give competitive reasons for somebody to jump ship. And if they didn't have it, and if they, when they went into their strategy of how they were going to pitch this game, they didn't answer the question, why should I play your game? Why should I buy your game? They just had a game, they were proud of it, and they shipped it. And in my opinion, that marketing took an L on it. They probably did the right thing of hosting a stream, announcing it digitally, but they probably just lacked on proving the point of why this game is better than the others. And they should have focused that because it's such a competitive market space. Same reason for any battle royale games, they have to prove why they're the number one battle royale. That's why whenever you see an advertisement for uh, Warzone or any other battle royale game, they usually say like number one battle royale, or like they say, we beat the
Yeah.
competition. This game is fast paced. Like they say all the reasons why they're number one. And if you don't come out guns swinging when you're releasing a new game, I mean, it's part of the reason why it's hype trains suck, but it's also you need it. You need to hype your game. And if you don't do that successfully, everyone's just gonna sit there, look at their keyboard, and just think of all the negative shit they want to say to you, and then they'll just go to town. At least that's my opinion.
You know what's kind of funny? When you're saying that Coke and Pepsi, and like a new person coming in and trying to sell it, like that just reminds me of how like Epic Games just like butted their way into the launcher sequence.
Yeah.
So like if they put like all this like exclusivity bullshit and like force their way into things for like, oh, like to get this like movie ticket or this free whatever, like you gotta buy like what would they even call it? Just like pop star, like let's just call it that, like that's just what came to mind, right? Like that's the new brand, and they're like, oh, to buy pop star you get all this stuff, and then like people like don't really even care for it, but they're buying it because that's how Epic Games forced their way into it. Like
Well, it's a matter of what if let's say we chose to rebrand Royal Cola. You ever had
mhm,
RC?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And we're like, this is the new shit. It's so much better than Coke and Pepsi. What you would do is you would say, it's so good. We're giving, if you go to your grocery store right now, there's a giveaway where you can pick up a 12 pack every week, every Friday at whatever time. Free giveaway, you get a case of it. Because that's what Epic Games did.
just bleeding money.
Epic Games was like, we're going to give away free games all the time. And
And they
that's why.
could because of that giant Fortnite success, just printing money for them for 3 years.
And I don't
Uh,
want to even get on Epic Game Store, but that's what you have to do. You have to like there has to be some sort of excitement outside of just the your product.
well, all right. Here's another thing to like this excitement you're talking about that it's like a new trend I'm kind of seeing. It might have been around for a while, but I've definitely been noticing it more lately. To build this hype, I don't know if it makes it feel more artificial or if it helps, but I guess it depends on the game, but right now I've been noticing they're releasing content in episodic like segments, and they're telling you when the next piece is going to come. So right now, The Last of Us 2 has an episodic like weekly video drop like inside the gameplay, inside the story, inside like all the rest of it, and they're kind of trying to generate hype on it. And some people like it, some people don't. Personally, I can't keep myself away from it because like I'm itching for the game so hard that it's like, oh, I want to see. But I can understand why some people who are trying to like abstain from like spoilers or just like seeing stuff that might not be a spoiler, but they want to go in blind, they avoid that. But then now this Outriders game is doing the same thing where like they said this is the first installment, like 30-minute installment of our episodic thing. We're going to have another one next month. And then like that right this episode they showed one class. Like next time they're going to show the next one. Now it kind of sucks that like this game doesn't really have the hype behind it immediately, but like let's say like this is Halo 5 or Halo Infinite. That has like a solid amount of hype behind it. Even if it's just like the diehard Microsoft Halo fans, like they're hyped. Now if they started doing an episodic, like this is what's gonna happen, I feel like that would be pretty popular. But I'm not really sure if that helps the hype for the people that are just kind of like diehard old heads where they're like, oh, like we just want our E3 and then we just want to like just wait and then see like bits and pieces.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is like Paradox does that with their games as well. They have a YouTube series where they also sit down with developers, and developers even play their games, and they kind of compete against each other. They also, for Crusader Kings 3, have been doing monthly updates to where they were at with the game, what they developed, what did they tweak, and then they'll say, today this month we're gonna go over this functionality of the game. Since it's a grand strategy, there's no story, so you can just see bits and pieces of the functionality, and it just, for at least me being a strategy player and I love Paradox games, it was so much fun to like they just tweak through like here's how we go through this like menu, and it just shows you a piece of it. It's a great way to get hype, but not too much. It doesn't put too much pressure on you because you were literally just showing your cards. You're
Yeah.
not hyping something that's might be like Anthem, where it was like we don't know, it sounds cool. They're just showing the pieces that they have already fine tuned. So it's in my opinion, it's smart. Like I don't think there's ever a unless you're doing spoilers, I don't think there's anything wrong with constant updates to your community. Even if it's like we're really struggling through these parts, but here's what we got done, and like give them a peek into like what it's like at the studio even. Because I eat that shit up all the time when you can literally like take a tour of like a Paradox studio or what are they doing, how are they coding it, like anything. um I just it frustrates me when there's a lack of it and you rely on rumors and leaks and you rely on the unknown to fuel a hype, because in my mind that is uncalculated risk, whereas just releasing press statements and releasing your information from you and to your community is trustworthy, it is calculated, and it's also safe. Like you're not going to overhype yourself. You're going to generate what I think you need to generate, which is calculated hype. It fuels the flame that people want to buy your game. It keeps you in the present, and I don't know. It just to me, it's a no brainer. But again, I don't work in the space. I don't have a PR degree. I don't have a marketing degree. So that take that into effect. I'm a non-expert expert advice.
Yeah, I mean, one last comment I want to make about this before we move on to our question of the day. Uh, I think that for games that are multiplayer and maybe these games as a service or like things that really can't be described in just like a trailer,
Yeah.
those games are more beneficial for this episodic like okay we're going to tell you about this class this time, this class the next, and like I know Overwatch, like they didn't. I don't think they did this. They released like uh little like mini Pixar films, like with like the trailer on each character, and that was huge. But like I remember when I was waiting for that game, I was essentially doing what they didn't, where I was just watching like an explanation of every single character. Like somebody on YouTube made it, but like they were like, this is the abilities of this character, and I was like basically researching up before the game dropped. And now I think for multiplayer games, like that's way better. But for a single player game, you're gonna reach like the point of like, okay, we're revealing too much about the story. Like you should just play it. So like I don't think they would be as successful in that point, but it also depends on the game and the person. Because like I said, I can't really help myself from watching these.
I mean, even just like let's break down how we like show whatever happened to like showing artwork in games. Remember that where you unlocked like collectibles where you got to see the framework artwork as they went along.
Yeah.
Do a 15-minute thing with your graphic designers and give them credit. And show here's how we designed, I forget her name, the main character in Last of Us. Here's how we went through designing her new look and as she aged or whatever from the last one.
Ellie.
Or here's the story up to this point. Get them hyped and kind of go back to like what it was like developing the first game. You can
Yeah.
create a whole documentary on the first game and then work your way up that way. I think there's creative ways to do that. I think maybe it just might be a matter of like they just either don't want to put the effort in to make that content and they just want to rely on their major press releases because they're busy, obviously. But I don't know. To me, you could do it cheaply and you could do it quickly at a point where it would actually benefit you more than having the unknown and just untapped into potential of hype. You know what I mean? Like I'm hyped for the game, but I don't see anything, so I'm just watching the gameplay trailer over and over again, like Diablo 4, or like when I was a kid and all we had was G4 and E3, and so I remember the Fallout 3. I remember it very vividly when Fallout 3 got announced, and I literally would just rewatch the E3 Fallout 3 gameplay trailer for like months.
Yeah.
And so eventually that gets tiresome, but that's where only the gamers are really watching it, and then you have the casual players that get dropped off. So
Yeah, I don't know. Like this game, even though it might not have so much hype yet, it really got me thinking about the state of things right now. And like, look at us, we just spent all that time talking about things like that. So,
it made me realize I had opinions where I didn't even know.
like, as we were discussing the topic for today, like, I was basically just like, Keegan, I know you have opinions on this, even though I haven't told you what we're talking about yet. So you don't have to do any prior research. And then I just told you the topic, and you're like, yeah, let's go.
So I was thinking a lot. I was thinking heavily on what question I want to ask and what like could get us the ball rolling. I feel like we've been really game heavy, so I wanted to go more technology. And the question is, do you think kids growing up now are at an advantage or disadvantage growing in the technology that exists today? Did we have it better knowing a world pre-major internet/mobile technology?
And this was like very thought provoking, but like I kind of didn't want to like gather my thoughts and give some just like high horse answer for like
Yeah.
on thing. But like my immediate gut thing is like I do feel like kids are at a disadvantage just being so reliant on tech, because like I mean my parents, even though like tech was around like when we grew up, it wasn't at the state it is now. But like my parents were kind of like, yo, like you need to chill on that. Like you don't need a smartphone that early. You don't need all
Yeah.
this. I mean, like I'll see kids that are like, 5 years old with walking around with an iPhone, or like the parents that just like hand their kids an iPhone to keep them entertained at a restaurant. And I'm just sitting here like, dude, that's like all they're gonna know. Like in the instance that they wouldn't have technology readily available or like have to do something without it, like they're gonna be clueless. And
It
we find ourselves reliant on technology, and I mean we made a whole podcast about technology and why we love it, but like I feel like because I have experience without using it, like I know what to do in those instances. Like
yeah.
it's
Don't worry,
it's
we know how to write in cursive. So we
the best skill you could ever have. Like
you remember like how they used to stress that in like elementary school, like you need to know how to write in cursive. It's like you what for my signature that I never sign?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's funny though because like nobody really handwrites things anymore. Like people do, like people have diaries and they do all that, but like if I write for longer than like 5 minutes, like my hand hurts. Like, it's like um, I have more of a tolerance built up to like this kind of like hand movement for like typing that it doesn't hurt as bad. But like I don't know, it's just I think that when I become a parent, like a father, I'm going to fully take advantage of those parental control aspects of technology. Like I haven't like looked into that yet because I'm not trying to have a kid right now. So like I don't I'm like worried about raising a kid in a technology like dominant world because I don't want a kid basically growing up glued to a phone. And I'm kind of glad my parents didn't let me do that because once I finally was able to embrace technology, I wasn't just like addicted to it already, you know? It was basically just like, all right, I know my limits. Like there's times where I might stay up till 4 in the morning, but it's like, all right, hey, I need to like rein it in and I'm not going to continue doing that. Like I'm not just going to be like a couch potato or a chair potato in the instance of like PC gaming. Like, like they taught you the ways in which to like take a break. My mom would always stress unplugging. Like that was what she said. She was just like, yo, unplug, go outside. So
Yeah.
it's like you need to find this balance because I don't know. Sometimes I find myself like, oh, you know what? I wonder what it would be like living in like the 70s or 80s where you just like you went to school and like people weren't on their phones 24/7 and like you had to like study with actual textbooks, dude. Like you didn't just Google everything. Like I don't know, it's just like a different feel.
When I thought through this question, I thought I knew the answer of what I would answer, but at the same time, I kind of hate this question because our generation got asked it all the time.
Mhm.
Like, "Oh, you guys had it so easy." And I don't wanna, like, give the next generation, like, "Oh, you had it so easy," and, like, carry that forward because like, I get what they're going through too because we were the generation that got ushered in, like, a massive amount of technology when we were young, and now the next generation is just even younger. But, they're obviously at an advantage, but to me, it's a disadvantage because all the things that they can take for granted and they get like excel in, it makes them have to mature quicker. I mean, we're talking about like 3-year-olds that know how to log into Netflix and like click on their favorite show, and like it's just it's for me at least technology. I see it through the vision where it's like if the internet's slow or if something's lagging, or I remember back to when like you're playing World of Warcraft on dial-up internet, and like that was the fastest speed you can get, and like I have to remind myself I'm on 300 megabytes per second, whereas before it was like 10. So um it's just it's humbling for me because I grew up in a time where, and you did too, like where we didn't have smartphones all the time, and that's great. But I don't utilize it as like back in my day or like I had to go through whatever. It's more of like I that means when I get frustrated at technology now, I just have to remind myself what it was like to be in 1999 and like just being a kid. So I don't know. Like I just hope that yeah, and I haven't been around the kids nowadays because I don't know what it's like growing up in that yet, and I am nervous as a parent because I would only want to hope that they have a childhood similar to mine where it was laid back and like you didn't have to stress too much. But I feel like with technology, you there's a new level of expectation for kids in each whatever grade level because they have so much access to technology. So
Yeah.
that's where the disadvantage comes in with the advantage. Like your advantage is that your disadvantage is that you have so many advantages at your fucking hand that like it makes you more reliable and have to do more things. And I can't even imagine as a parent like today. Like you like the fact that the parents have to debate, oh, my kid's in 4th grade now, should I give him an iPhone? Like to me it like baffles me because I didn't get a flip phone until I was like in 8th, and that was a
Yeah.
flip phone.
Yeah.
So all it does is it kind of brings me back to center. Like, wow, I'm glad I don't have to like deal with those decisions yet, and I'm nervous for when I have to get to those decisions. Like, who knows what technology is going to be like when I have a kid that's like just turning 16 and driving. I I had no idea. And so it's good to look back, but I don't want to be the next generation that looks down on the generation below me for having all those technologies. Instead, I would rather like remind them that like think back to like when you were younger, and like realize where technology's gone, not really where it's been. So that way it brings you back down to like a zero level, so you don't get so pissed off at your phone for lagging. Like remember when
Dude,
you didn't have it on your phone.
that's all right. So that's the funny thing too, because there's two things I'm gonna say. One, speaking to that point of like getting upset because your phone's lagging or whatever. Like, I was watching Nick Merck streaming the other day, and he was like, you can't get mad at these Fortnite kids these days because this is all they know. They expect to be able to just make millions off of a game, and when they don't get it exactly how they want it, they start crying. They start getting upset. And it's like that's all they knew. They don't know just playing because it's fun, just because like,
Yeah.
they're chilling. Everything's like for making money now. And like they're essentially like able to do so much more with gaming that was never possible 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And especially when we were kids, like gaming was not seen as a lucrative field. It was just entertainment. So like now that kids are going to grow up in a field where technology and video games and other stuff like that is such a lucrative and like actually valuable field, it might be getting saturated, but like it's a viable choice. I think that's really cool. But like my other point is I don't want to be that parent where it's just like, all right, like no technology kind of thing, like you gotta like suffer like I did. You see those memes where like, oh, my kids are gonna know the struggle. I'm giving them a flip phone to start, like they gotta work their way up. Like I thought that was funny, but like, yeah, I'll get my kid a phone like when it comes time, and really all the only options you have are like the smartphones. But like I'm gonna be taking advantage of the parental controls, but I'm also gonna be like, hey, like let's go play outside, let's go do this, let's go find another avenue of entertainment, so that it's not like they are so reliant on it. So like immediately when I say that disadvantage question, I guess I just go to the worst case scenario, because you see all the Black Mirror stuff, and you see the state of like all, at least like the kids that stand out to us now are the kids that are like obnoxious. When you go somewhere and you see the kids that are like middle school and younger, and they're just like on their phones and like doing weird stuff like TikToking, and like you're like, oh, like the typical kids. Like we're gonna become like those boomers or whatever. But like I don't want to become to the point where like technology hostility, like you gotta strike a balance.
You remember? Like, do you even know what this is? Like, I don't, because I bet kids like either the generation below us or the generation below them. I mean, they know the history of like the internet probably, or at least they get taught that, or you know, they may not know that like the specific quirks of like what we had to like the weird things we had to go through with the internet, like dial up, where if somebody needs the landline, you have to get off the internet. Like they may not know that far, but they know it wasn't just easy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would. It's gonna be stressful, and I the parental controls thing is like it's an obvious need, but you got to find where the line is because Black Mirror. If one thing Black Mirror tells us
Well,
is they're
don't
they're
inject
super
the tracking device into your kid, like not that level. Like I'm just saying, like screen time, so my kid isn't playing like Mario 64, like on his no like the no Mario 64 remastered in VR at the age of 6 until 12 o'clock at night. Like the dude should be in a bed. He shouldn't be like playing games. The thing should shut off. Like I'm trying to just like prevent addiction, because like the World Health Organization did finally acknowledge it as an addiction, but it's like the way people get to that point is neglect.
yeah.
They weren't like given the correct exposure, and they just like fell off the deep end. So it's just like that's the one thing I don't want to have happen, because let's say this, I loved technology growing up. I was always
Yeah.
like, let's get the new stuff. Like I like taking stuff apart, figuring out new technologies. But like if my parents were just like, yeah, have at everything, dude, I would be a very different person. Like I would not probably be a runner. Like I would not be going to school for that. Like I don't know, I'd just be a lot different.
Let me tell you something. If my mom at the time was like, "Oh, you're into World of Warcraft," sure, I'll give you my credit card so you can have the monthly subscription. If that happened, I can't even imagine how much worse my obsession of World of Warcraft at the time would have been. But
Yeah.
the fact that I had to earn that $30 to buy the 60-day prepaid card out of cash or whatever, because I didn't get allowance, so like whatever way I could get the money, that at least spaced it out. And obviously, I couldn't play it all the time. So,
Yeah, because like all these
but
kids now have their mom's credit card buying Fortnite V-Bucks and just like draining their bank account.
what's funny is like I think it was Jack Black or somebody was on a talk show, and he was talking about how his like kid likes to play on the iPad, and he likes to play this specific game, and he didn't know that there was in-game purchases on the game, and his kid was just like boop 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 and just like kept spamming it, and he's just like, why is that? So that's also something you have to make sure you monitor too. But
Yeah.
I
You
don't
know
know.
what
It's
I'm looking forward to? Like,
what?
so my dad, when we reminisce about playing games when I was young, because the funny thing is, I'm saying all this, but like my dad started me playing games like occasionally at like the age of 2. Like he gave me the controller and I just like dinked around and like was bad. But then like by the age of like 3, 4, he said I was like beating him in some stuff. So like I wasn't playing for hours, but like he would give me the controller and I would be like beating him in a racing game or something. So like I'm curious now that I've been playing since that age, and I think I'm like decent at games, right? But like your reaction time is going to take a hit as you start aging, right? Like Fortnite pros are like all 16, 17 years old, like maybe up to like early 20s, and then they kind of fall off. At least with the reaction time. When I have a kid, is this boy or girl gonna be just like whooping me in all these games? Like, am I just gonna feel like, wow, I'm trash now? Or am I gonna have some sort of advantage? Because, like, for instance, my dad, I could never touch him in something like Madden, right? Like, he's
Yeah,
unmatched because it's more strategic. But, like, all the games I like right now are like the Twitch shooters and stuff. So, I'm not trying to have my kid play like Doom Eternal until he's
right.
like, old enough to see that kind of stuff. But, like, let's say we're playing a game similar to Fortnite where it's like cartoony, it's a little bit more age appropriate for like a younger kid. Am I just about to get dusted? Like,
100%.
it's gonna
Dude,
be kind of entertaining.
that actually is funny because it brought up fond memories that I have of my dad. Because I mean, Xbox original, we're back in Oregon. I like still can like see us playing with my brother, my dad, and I playing actually Halo. Funny enough,
Mm-hmm.
it just came out. We played Halo. I'm like 5, and I don't know why, but I remember it so vividly because my dad just like hooked up our surround sound to the TV, and so like hearing the Halo and the like Slayer and all that stuff, like the sound effects. But my dad would always get pissed off because me and my brother would always like mess with him where we would hit like melee him in the back in the head. So he's like, I'll play with you, but you guys can't hit me in the back of the head. Like you can't if you're gonna kill me, don't kill me that way. It's like
Oh,
even like when I was that young, I was still like I don't know if he'd let me beat him, but and we also had like this racing game we used to play all the time. But you're definitely gonna get dusted. Like that's just something that's I've thought about that. I'm like, am I just about to get bad at video games? Like when does that happen? And when
yeah.
does like is it I'm just only playing RPGs and nothing competitive?
Well, like I already noticed like the decline. Like I don't have the same reaction time that I did maybe like in high school, just because like the kids that are that like 16, 17, 18 age, like they do have the faster reflexes usually. And like I'm able to hold my own, but like I can tell that like as I get into my 30s, like that's gonna go away. But it's like the games are gonna change, the style of gameplay and like what you might be playing on, like VR might become more regular. And like for instance, like I saw an article that was like a look back on how video games were 10 years ago and the state of like
Yeah,
the difference, and it's wildly different, like to see what 2010 was like it with fresh eyes. So like 10 years from now, like we don't even know what we're going to be doing. So like there might be some new style of gameplay that's better suited just for kids and that like I'm just going to be bad at, and I'm
we'll
not
just be in
even,
the Matrix.
yeah, like I'm not even going to be ready for conceptually what that is. And then like the one thing I'm worried though is the point at which like you actually are like Ready Player One level, like you are in the game. I'm gonna be too old to be moving around for it. I'm gonna be all geezer, like, oh, like I can't move like I last did. Like these kids that are gonna be that age are gonna be having way more fun because they can actually like do athletic things.
You about to be doing some steroids just to get back in shape. You're like,
Yeah,
all
like
right, man.
I got to get back in that running shape just so I can like move around for Call of Duty, whatever Warzone 25, where we're actually like you're supposed to have that endurance. Like you got to, they're giving you the weight on your shoulders, like all the guns. Like
Like at that point, why would you want to play that?
I mean, they definitely aren't going to do that for most games because people want like the ease and the fun of games, but like you're going to get those like super try hard simulator games that are going to want to do all that. Like you're going to be simulating the actual, difficulty of things.
Yeah,
But like I saw a video that was like them simulating the tension and like touch in VR, were like this is like very early prototype, but like they were wearing like I don't know if it was on the hat or like the shoulders, but they had wires and the wires were mapped to the shape of the object in the game. So when your hand went like this and like there's a ball here, the wires like had tension around, so like it stopped your finger when you got to like the collision of the ball. So like you literally couldn't push any farther because that's where it is in the game to make you simulate the. And I was like, bro, like we are on our way. Like
I
we
don't
are
know what's scary
fully getting
more,
that way.
VR gaming, or like I'm nervous when VR gaming and AI really collide, because that's when we get really too close to Matrix
Bro,
level.
Inception is gonna be the way games are played. You just plug in to the dang system and like go to sleep.
Cyber technology, you just have to plug in on your side, and you just like boop.
Bro, I'm gonna be using parental controls on myself so I don't get stuck in the limbo. Like, I'm gonna be like, all right, we're setting a 4 hour limit on a Saturday because I'm not trying to get stuck in this matrix. Oh
Oh,
man, that's gonna be crazy. Like, I don't, we don't know where we're going, and that's like the fun of like making a podcast about technology. We're gonna be talking about like all these different things for like years to come, and it's just gonna be
no,
like taking a look back on it all.
and I think that's where I'm gonna circle back to the question, because I think the second part, did we have it better knowing a world pre major internet and mobile technology? I think we have the advantage over, because we know how far we truly have come. Like, we are in that sweet spot of observation at a young age till now, and we can see it go further. Because I feel like, as much as like the younger generations will see the technology advances and will have to get used to it at the same time as us, they're going to get used to it, I think, obviously at a quicker rate than us, but we're going to have a very different perspective and be able to, and so are, our parents generation and so forth. But I think we have a very weird timeline that we've seen in a short amount of time, massive technology advances. So
Yeah, I mean, I
I'm
agree
excited.
with that. I like
Yeah.
the fact that we've kind of seen it's come up, but like I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think that the '80s is the sweet spot. If we were born in like 1980, right, and we saw like the come up of like the giant chunky phones and just like different sorts of like VHS things and like putting tech like more advanced tech into cars through the 90s and early 2000s at a different age, that's like the start arc. I like obviously I know we had technology and other things. Like I mean we supposedly sent someone to the moon in the 60s. We don't have to get into if people think that's a
Oh,
conspiracy or not, right? But we
and you
had
say supposedly, dude. Come on
no,
now.
no. I said that to feed into the people that think it's a conspiracy because it's hilarious. But we had things like in World War II, with like you seen the Imitation Game with the whole biopic about like what did
Yeah.
they actually the Enigma machine, or what's that what it's
Mhm.
called? Yeah, like that initial kind of computer thing, but like it's a really slow process from there. Like I think like the 80s is kind of when things like started to go, and then the 90s really. But like when I was born in the 90s, like we were tiny. I was born 1996, so like I didn't really see too much of the 90s. We just always have these 90s kids like, oh, the 90s was the best time being a kid because like we saw these toys in the early 2000s. But I don't know. I do like being pre-technology, being dominant kind of thing, and then you see where it goes from there.
Yeah. And I was thinking, like, what if like the next major evolution in like our human infrastructure is our eyes, because we have, for like, since the TV came out, been so screen heavy. What if just generation after generation, something evolution wise happens with our eyes, not cybernetics, obviously, but like
Like we do like the little micro evolutions. Like, well, all right. So there's been like these I don't know what you call it, like predictions of like what the average human will look like in like I don't know the exact year. This was years ago that I saw it, but it was like 2050 or something. And
yeah,
like the way they thought people's eyes were gonna look was way bigger. Like not
be-
just like anime eyes, but like just like over time, like the eyes do get bigger. But yeah, I mean, I would assume that the way that the eyes would change would be a result of just like all of the screen viewing. Like if I had to venture a guess.
I feel like it'll eventually catch up, or something will happen.
I mean,
But
like I said before, I brute forced my headaches and like eye pain out because like when I would get that initial little onset from just watching, like it would be like, all right, like play through it. And then now I don't get headaches anymore. I do use the eye care screen modes with like the uh they remove more blue light because I know blue light is harmful and like
yeah,
prevents sleep. But like as far as just like when I was a kid, I was just like, all right, whatever.
I mean, playing video games is the reason why I like started noticing my eyesight declining, because I mean I was playing like the box TV or whatever. I had to keep getting closer and closer to the TV because I kept, even just like watching TV, I felt like I couldn't see it all the way, and so I'm like, maybe I need to get my eyes checked, and then like got glasses, but like I'm just it'll be interesting to see what
I
happens.
mean, I don't. I've never looked this up, but I'm pretty sure there is a tie between needing glasses and screen time. Just because, like, that's like the whole idea, like the stereotypical nerd way back when was like they always have glasses, and what are they doing? They're looking at screens. And I had like a coworker I worked with. He's like, yeah, I never needed specs before, but then I started playing FIFA a lot, and then now I need them. So like you're like squinting and you might be too far away, and then like there's the whole like don't read tiny text, but all video game font size is tiny. So like
Yeah,
that probably ties into it. But I don't know. It's interesting. Just don't play at max brightness with a game like Halo or Destiny where it's just like what did girlfriend reviews call it on YouTube? Diarrhea Christmas lights.
yeah.
Dude, I can't help but notice that every time there's just like a cluster of just like bright lights and you can't tell what's going on. Like we were playing Risk of Rain 2 yesterday and it was diarrhea Christmas lights. I just can't help but think of that.
Yeah, that's a great. It's perfect, actually.
Yeah.
Perfect description.
Well, dang, I didn't expect to get so deep in the whole like technology as a concept today,
Great
but
question for me.
that was a great question. Now, to tie it all off, we're gonna make fun of HBO's business model on this whole HBO Max, HBO Now, HBO Go / explain what it actually is. Because last episode we were kind of tearing them up,
Like,
but I now understand it kind of somewhat.
okay, hit me with
Um,
it.
I figured out that HBO Go is it is the one that is included in your internet provider, or well, TV
Cable.
provider. So like that'll be the same catalog as HBO Now, and it comes with like different sorts of like DirecTV or AT&T, whatever. But like the weird part is they're replacing Now with Max. So like it is pretty much the same thing, but with more content and more original things, and it has like a rebranding and it looks prettier. But like they're not getting rid of Now right away at least. And I couldn't really find anything about like if they were going to get rid of it or like why it's still here, but it's the same price and the majority of people qualify for an automatic free upgrade and I'm one of them because I got like several emails saying like, "Hey, HBO Max is coming out. You don't have to do anything. You still sign in with your HBO Now login. It's just going to be called HBO Max and you get this extra content." But I had to like uninstall Now from my smart TV and then reinstall it. And then when I reinstalled it, it was called HBO Max and it signed me in right away. But then I like looked online, or no, as I signed in, it said, "Do you want to use HBO Max or do you want to keep using the HBO catalog?" And I was like, well, it's free and I get more. So just give me it. Like, why don't you just rebrand it? Like, why is this a whole like we're keeping this tier that costs the same but has more?
I didn't understand it until today. where I saw that it's not available on Fire TV or Roku. My assumption on their business side is that they wanted to do a complete rebrand
Yeah,
with the new catalog. But you got people that you just get it through cable, so they don't want to reward just using your through your cable provider. They want you to have the app. So they're keeping HBO Go because that would have pissed off a bunch of people, so they're just going to keep it. It's
that makes
easier.
sense. Yeah.
HBO Now is available on all devices, on anything you want to use, but they didn't get sign-offs for their new app, HBO Max, from Roku and Amazon. And I mean, there's tons of hurdles and hoops you have to do to get your platform on devices as it is.
Hmm.
So I'm guessing they're like, we want to release it, but these guys are still dragging their feet, so we're just gonna do it. So then they made a huge new model where they're like, we're gonna keep now. So that way, if you're on your Roku or your Fire TV, you're still using HBO, you're still paying for it. And now we have HBO Max, where if you don't have that, you have the catalogs. I'm assuming it's just easier to keep it, but
And
I
then
don't understand
deprecate
when.
it later.
Yeah, and I'm guessing if you have now, I don't know why they wouldn't just upgrade you.
That's where
And
I got weird because they kept saying the majority of people qualify, and it's like, bruh, I'm already giving you the money. Just
I'm
give it to
guessing,
me.
I'm guessing it's if you're connected to Fire TV or Roku, they might not have sent that notification out to those users. But I don't know
Yeah,
how they.
but that's what I'm saying. Like they might be able to know where you sign in, but the thing is, you should still qualify. Like that's the weird word that I don't understand. Like the way they say qualify, it should just be like the app will upgrade it if you're on a the app will upgrade if you're on the supported platform. But
Automatically.
you everyone qualifies if you're paying for now. Because like you can
You know,
only pay for now with a standalone service.
but then again, from what I've learned so far and just in IT in general, it sounds easy between me and you right now on doing that where it should, but I bet you on their their end, I bet there's some like just some super complex either legalities or just how their apps talk to one another. I mean, kudos for them just even staying still in the cable market space with HBO Go. So I'm still confused about it, but I still give them a benefit of the doubt that like maybe there's just some unanswered the relational database,
Oh
something.
well, they had me accept a whole new privacy policy when I did the upgrade because like they that's probably why they asked me if you want to stay on HBO or go to this because it was like, by the way, this is under a new privacy policy and it's just like yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah. Also, that's a new. Speaking of like just like engraved into society, just the except no one reads those things. But
Dude, we got to talk about that in another episode because I watched a full documentary on that in college and it was freaking wild. Like, they ran over the amount of time it would take for you to actually read all of those and how much of your life you would spend. Like, not even just like read, like, fully, like, to understand. It was just like to skim. And that's actually like a full episode's worth of content or something. They made like a whole 2 hour documentary on it. So, like, but I don't know. I just think it's weird how they're doing it, but it would make sense that there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but I just don't think they're doing a great job of explaining it. Like they
yeah,
literally should have like a landing page where you go to it and they're just like, here's our 3 tiers and here's their use cases. And I haven't found that
yeah, and it's like
yet.
I don't know. It's like I can't really come up with an excuse why they don't have that or why, because in my opinion, I think you've failed when the conversation online isn't what's on your platform, it's why your platform. It's like why do you need HBO Max when that's the question, or what is it, or what's different rather than what's on it. I think you've lost some of the conversation you hope to gain, and so now you're just backfilling and you're catching up and putting out fires. When IGN has to put out a article saying, uh, "Here's the explanation of HBO Max Go and Now,"
Yeah.
rather than here's everything coming to HBO Max this month, next month, because you know how they do that for Netflix, and a lot of places do coming out in May for Netflix. You don't see
Yeah,
any other streaming platform like having to like, here, don't worry, we did the work for you. Here's our explanation of what the app does.
for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. But I guess since I qualified for the free upgrade, I'm mainly only excited because now I can finally watch the entire Big Bang Theory show from start to finish, because that show has always been hard to get a hold of. You'd actually have to like buy them like to own, and I just want to stream it on something. But now they got all 12 seasons on HBO, so that'll be my like new filler sitcom that I watch, because I've seen like
Yeah.
it's always on like TBS or other TV shows with comedy networks. So like I've seen pretty funny, decent episodes here and there, but like I want to just watch it. So now I can.
And I'll be waiting patiently until 2021 when I can watch the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, which I found out why it's 2021 is because they still have to pay, like, I think it was like 20 to 40 million dollars worth of work that still needs to be done CGI wise to make it happen.
Oh yeah. So like we said, it isn't finished. Like you said, they that budget to like flesh it out. But
Yeah, and Zack Snyder actually wanted some of the cast to do reshoots, but HBO and Warner said, "Nah, we're not paying. We're only paying for special effects and CGI."
dang. Well, yeah, that was funny when you found that out live last episode, but
Yeah,
it'll be
I
worth
was.
the wait. You'll be so happy when it comes out.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
until
Hopefully.
hopefully it comes out and I watch it and I'm happy.
He's a little bit worried now. He's over here like, oh no.
I mean, just the teaser of Dark Side that Zack Snyder posted on his Twitter like had me tweaked, so I'm pumped.
Yeah, it should be I'm excited to watch it, so that says something.
We'll have to do a whole run of all the DC movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down to do it. Like, it might not be as invested as I was for the Marvel stuff, but I'll do it.
Well, it's only a few movies. It's not really, you don't
How
have to
many
do too many.
how many are there?
Man of Steel, Wonder Woman, Batman versus Superman, uh, Aquaman. I guess you have to do that
Are
one.
there
See,
less than 10 or more than 10?
less than 10.
Okay. We won't quote you on it, but around that number, whereas like Marvel was like, all right, let's watch 30 movies real quick.
I mean, it's just like, do you have to watch Suicide Squad? Not really. Do you have to watch Birds of Prey? Not really. So
But like I would watch all of those because we watched everything when we watched Marvel. Except for the
okay,
ones that I had seen multiple times, like the original Avengers.
we didn't watch Incredible Hulk.
But I had seen it before. I just forgot what happened.
Oh,
But you explained it to me. Like all I needed to know was like, here's the stinger for Iron Man. So
yeah.
like sum that movie up and like, okay, at the end Iron Man comes on. Like that's all you need to know.
Yeah, you got a teaser of Iron Man. That's all you need, and that the Hulk exists.
Yeah.
Actually, no, the ending where he said he like actually is able to channel it and meditate. That was actually important.
I'm always angry. He just smiles over there. Oh man. All right. Well, then on that note, we'll end the podcast. Channel your Hulk down. All right, Keegan.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hit us up at darkworldpodcast.com. We'll see all of our social media, all of our platforms, everything, latest episodes, giveaway, like, follow, subscribe.
You know the drill.
We out.
Best outro ever.
Well, don't ruin it. Don't ruin it. All right, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.
See you.